Nobody said anything as far as I know.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Council Public Hearing Meeting Agenda for Tuesday, Tuesday, April 4th. If you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you.
Versus remote. Okay.
So, we are going to move on to item 2, presentation of town manager's Town of Rocky Hill 2023-2024 proposed budget, and we will call Mr. Carpentino to present his budget. And just for the record, we have Councilor Duff zooming in case you hear a strange voice that just sort of comes out of nowhere, right? Good evening.
Good evening. In accordance with Section 804 of the Town Charter, I present to the Town Council the Town Manager's proposed 2023-2024 budget. But before I do that, my career spans back 38 years in over 10 different towns, and literally during every budget year, I've heard from first selectmen to mayors to a couple of town managers that this is going to be a really tough year, really. And I would say to myself, yeah, right, I've heard this many times before. Well, I stand here tonight telling you that this budget year is going to be a very tough year. Now, a quick overview. The 2023-24 proposed budget represents a balanced approach to meeting the needs of Rocky Hill while being financially responsible and provides transparency in the budget process. However, we face a few challenges, both internal and external. The U.S. economy is experiencing the highest inflation in many years. Interest rates on mortgages and other loans are at the highest in years. The price of goods have escalated over the past 3 years. Food prices are outrageous, as is the price of electricity and heating fuels. Add to this our minimal grand list growth, increased costs to the town's contractual obligations, and the desire to hold the mill rate steady while addressing the town's needs, services, and long-range goals. This is the backdrop upon which we must budget. Now, let me pause for a second. While I know this is a bit on the draconian side, all is not lost. I believe that a bit of levity in such situations can go a long way, but it does not diminish the seriousness of the situation. So I'm preparing you for a couple of slides that may hopefully elicit a few laughs, even though this is a very serious situation.
So you got some wisecracks coming in?
No,
Okay.
not from me anyway. Just one more thing. This budget process, and in fact, this budget presentation, and the preparation of this presentation would not be possible without the in-depth knowledge, professionalism, and insane work ethic of Mona McKim, Director of Finance and Operations, who will be operating the slideshow tonight for me. All right, so tonight we will talk about a little bit of debt. Excuse me while I crack this open. A little bit of revenue. And I will be presenting a best case, worst case scenario, as was requested by the Town Council. Okay, let's talk about revenues. Grand list Grand List saw a slight increase, 0.88% over 21-22. Real estate saw a reduction of 0.33%, and that was really because of three conditions: a little commercial growth, and 2 court tax appeal decisions on Walmart and one on 1160 Elm Street. Now, personal property and motor vehicles saw an increase. Personal property saw an increase of 4.3%. Motor vehicles, 8.4%. This was a result of many businesses reinvesting in themselves. Some of the larger ones, particularly Connecticut Pharmaceuticals, and many other small businesses reinvesting. Motor vehicles saw growth because of the many commercial vehicles coming off exemption, an increase in values, and just people typically buying newer or upgrading. Grand List will generated $680,000. I'll do a quick run through. The tax sale we are holding this year will not be available next year, so there's an $80,000 loss. The anticipated state revenue increase is, we're hoping for $740,000. Interest revenue exploded, over 1,000% increase, primarily due to revisions in reinvestment practices this year, $275,000. The $2.8 million of ARPA funding that we have this year, we won't see this upcoming year. However, we will have $980,000 available for 23-24. We will see a decrease in fund balance of $40,000. We will allocate $150,000 from the police private duty to help offset the costs of the new police pension. And we have a new revenue source estimated at $72,000 from recycling collection at condominiums. The overall impact of the revenue compared to this year is even Steven, net zero gain. A quick review of debt. Principal and interest, just over $8 million. We did see a reduction of 0.94%. The $76.3 million debt figure incorporates several general obligation bond issuances, for the renovation of the high school, public safety, road improvements, the new Mosier School, acquisition of development rights for farms, acquisition of the Straska Farm, and also the construction of the new community and senior center. Best case scenario. The best case scenario being funding 100% of all the department requests. First of all, contractual obligations, staffing, benefits, pension insurance, liability insurance, and health insurance, building concurrent existing building department software, debt, second part of reval, power, about $1.6 million increase for those items, contractual fixed increases. Add to that the Board of Education increase of almost $2.4 million. I'm including new funding for an SRO or security personnel for our schools that are $102,000. Capital improvement increases amount to $450,000, which include road repairs, a new cricket field, a new Freightliner truck for the highway department to replace the aged and barely operable existing vehicle, replacement of the aging police department generator, repair and construction of a Maxwell hockey facility or area, and also improvements to some lighting at the Elm Ridge Park. Public Works increases amount to $100,000, which include a $65,000 increase in the salt budget line item and a $35,000 figure for rental equipment for grinding waste stumps and what have you. General government, that's about a $185,000 increase that covers fuel, townwide overtime, $50,000 for a planning consultant to update the plan of conservation and development, improvements to townwide technology, specifically $25,600 for Informacast, which is a communication software communication for a townwide connection for conferences and also emergency alerting on a townwide basis. And a $15,000 increase in the senior food account, bringing the total for that account from $75,000 up to $90,000 in costs. And other miscellaneous for about $5,000. That total budget scenario is just over $97 million, or 2.4 mil increase. We went through the budget, I think pretty thoroughly, and I'm proposing the following revisions. We have to fund, of course, our contractuals at $1.6 million. I'm proposing a $500,000 cut to the Board of Ed budget. I'm proposing to retain the SRO security position at $102,000. As far as capital improvements go, I'll be cutting $364,000 out of that particular budget item area and retaining the cricket field and the Freightliner truck as discussed previously. I'll be cutting $100,000 from the Public Works increase proposal. And as far as the general government, at $185,000, I'll be cutting the entire increase proposed. With those cuts, we still are at a 1.8 mil increase. A further review is necessary. So this budget includes and provides for a new look. We will be freezing all vacant positions. We will not be filling any vacancies except in the tax and assessors department. We have a vacancy in each department. I will be filling those two vacancies with one full-time cross-trained floater to work between both departments. I will not be filling the economic development director position this year. We will see some savings and some reorganization in the police department. And we have, we filled two positions in the human services department. One is existing, one is vacant. We will be freezing that position as well for this year. We can see some cost savings in payroll and some part-time positions in engineering and parks. I propose eliminating the grants writer at a cost of $32,000. And the SRO security position is remaining. And as you recall, we have a budget cut for the Board of Ed at $500,000. The capital requests will be delayed. That includes the aging generator at the police department, regrouting of the entire high school pool, some road reserve money, the hockey facility, and carpeting in the library and the police department. And that's about a $30,000 savings. We're retaining the Freightliner truck and the cricket field proposal. I propose phasing in a CRT senior lunch program and keeping $20,000 in the meal program. probably maybe 3 days a week, allowing, affording weekly specials and holiday specials as well. That also frees up about 4 hours of custodial time for setup and takedown for lunch every day. I'm proposing restructuring the take-home vehicle policy for the police department. That may see a savings of about $25,000 possibly. New policies for leaf pickup and bulky waste will be discussed. That could save some time, again, in overtime and fuel. I've reduced the training and membership to an as-needed, as-required basis, and be instituting some policies to monitor more closely access to our legal counsel to help control expenses there. And of course, reduce overtime whenever possible through maybe more aggressive scheduling. And reduce contingency based on an as-needed basis. All the reductions in an extra $2 million, a reduction of another $1 million. So the proposal for the town manager's 2013 proposal. Next. Comes to a just over $95 million budget, or an increase of 3%, or an increase of 1.4 mils. This chart shows a percentage of proposed budget increase by major category. As you can see, town salaries account for 17% of the increase. Pension costs, 11% of the increase. Town insurance is 15% of the increase. The Board of Education increase accounts for 67% of the increase. And general government saw a reduction of 10%. I was asked to prepare a worst-case scenario, that being trying to get to a $0 million increase, or as close to zero as possible. So what we have here is additional layoffs of at least 6 full-time positions with benefits, eliminating the new SRO security position, privatizing trash collection, additional education Board of Ed cuts of amounting to an additional $600,000, eliminating the cricket field construction and the Freightliner truck for the Public Works Department, and also reducing contingency to $25,000. And that still results in a $500,000 increase. And we're still at an increase of $1 million. This budget provides for our planned initiatives as discussed throughout the year. Security for our schools, upgrade of townwide technology, installation of a new cricket field, adherence to a vehicle turnover schedule so we keep our vehicles operable and in good shape, a phase-in of a CRT cafe lunch program, allowing weekly specials, still funding that program up to $20,000. Initiate the recycling pilot. Keep our grant-funded projects on schedule and see them to completion. Maintain our required education and training and certifications. Continue to follow our succession planning and transparency in the budget process. And still meet contractual obligations while minimizing the impact on taxpayers. So with that, that concludes my, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry, I apologize. I have several more slides to go through.
That was wishful thinking.
Yeah. This is the town, this scenario kind of lays out the best case, worst case, and town manager's proposed budget. The left column, best case scenario, everything fully funded. We're talking about a 2.4 mil increase. Worst case scenario, decimating town services at about a half a mil increase. And my proposed budget coming in at a 1.4 mil increase. Again, this shows the impact of the increases on a mill rate. If you go to the right column where it says 1.4 mil, general government accounts for a 0.54 mil increase. Debt actually accounts for a reduction of a 0.04. Same with capital improvements, a reduction of 0.05. And the education increase accounts for a 0.95 or almost 1 mil. Totally 1.4 mil increase. This is a popular slide. It really shows a picture of the impact on the average homeowner. So I pulled a house appraised at $400,000 and a fictional house appraised at $200,000. I threw that $200,000 in for historical value because since I've been here for 16 years, we've been using a house valued at $200,000. It doesn't exist, but I threw it in just for comparisons. So if you go down to the very bottom, 23 to 24 proposed monthly tax change for a house valued at $400,000, it's $33 a month, and a house valued at $200,000 is $16 per month. Now, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carpentino. So we're going to move on in our agenda to public comment. And so this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person wishing to make public comment should email publiccomments@rockylct.gov, and you will be provided with a link on how to attend the meeting and instructions as well on how to participate. So I don't think we have anyone remote because not getting any signals from the computer window.
We didn't have any calls either.
Nothing. Okay, so we just have live comment, I'm presuming, because we have lots of folks here. So please come up and state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi. Lori Bosky, 18 Highland Street. Hi Chris, online. I'm hoping the rest of our counselors are here to hear this or watching it or will watch it later because it is very important and I'm concerned about the empty seats. I'm just going to be really quick because it just came out, the budget just came out, and I quickly did a review, but I just looked back on the history and the decisions that were made. A lot of numbers are going to be coming at us for the next couple months, and our heads are going to be spinning. But the website has the adopted budgets for the prior years, and I just wanted to give a quick history. In 2021, our adopted budget had a 1.1 mil increase, including 1.4 million transfer from the fund balance. Our adopted budget for 21-22 had a 0.5 mil increase, 1.1 million from the fund balance, and the 1.4 million from the ARPA funding, which was included in that. In 2023, our current budget was a 0.42 mil increase, using 2.64 million from ARPA funds. And our proposed, as you just saw tonight, is a 1.4 mil increase, including a 1.4 million transfer from the fund balance and the remaining $980,000 from the ARPA funds. My concern is about the planning and our use of ARPA funds for personnel. Just the one thing that popped into mind, I know that the town hired 2 new police officers paid for with our taxes, but then the council agreed to a 3rd officer using that ARPA funding which was not originally requested by Chief Custer. I have no problem with police and safety, but do we have data regarding the budgetary benefits or not of these new positions, such as reduction in overtime? And is it possible to move a patrol officer to the requested SRO position, thereby saving us $102,000? I had mentioned this when I was a Board of Ed member, when we were talking about it during COVID, when the board presented their use of the ARPA money and included positions, and I questioned that because I said in 2 years, in 3 years, we're not going to have that money, and how are we going to pay for these people? And the response I got was, well, we'll use attrition and we won't have to worry about it. Well, the Board of Ed has come back now this year saying we need the money for those positions. So I'm believing, as a taxpayer in town, that with no future income from ARPA, you, the council, the guardians of our tax money, need to make some significant cuts from the proposed budget from all sides, from Board of Ed, from the town side. For a council that's been claiming to be fiscally responsible, I find that a 1.4 mil increase to be unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Anyone else? Okay. Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nick Rinaldi. I live on West Meadow Road. I've been there almost 50 years. And when I came and bought my house here, my taxes were under $500 a year, and now they are at $7,500 a year. I can't figure out why on that one. But the biggest problem I have is cutting the money from the senior center. We have over 100 people daily looking at meals, and I'm talking about people who are older than me. I'm 77, that rely on these meals because it's their only meal a day. And you want CRT to come in with their box lunches, which is garbage. You can get a better meal at McDonald's for half the price, and that's not saying much. I have a thing here that people have signed from the senior center to keep the funding for the meals. People go there to interact daily. You're talking about seniors. You're not talking about educators. You're not talking about kids. You're talking about seniors who are in the last part of their life, enjoying to be with other people. If you cut the meals, what's going to happen, and I'm part of it, I'm not coming here anymore. And a lot of the seniors who are downstairs daily are not coming here anymore. Because there's no sense coming here if you can't get a decent meal for the seniors. People are worried in our group. I won't be here for bingo. I won't be here for cards. I won't be here for meals. This place, which was built for the seniors downstairs, will be a ghost land. There'll be nobody coming, and the money that you use to build this situation and to build this facility is just a waste. Thank you.
Anybody else who wishes to be heard? Okay, make sure you say your name and address.
Bernadette Perkins, 10 Clements Court, Rocky Hill. I'm just going to back up this gentleman. My life has changed dramatically since the Senior Community Center opened. And daily, not daily, but at least 3 times a week, I go for lunch because there are people there that I'm the only person that they talk to. When they have an event where there's music or something cultural, you have to see these people singing, laughing, because otherwise they're sitting at home watching TV, no interaction. When I retired, there were 3 years where I had the heck of a time trying to find an art class. Now, you go to lunch, people say, oh, you know, we're going to have an art class, there's an Encompass, whatever. We have gotten some people to come back for a class. Mitchell's meals are like having mom serve you. I cannot tell you after all the years that I have made food, gone out to lunch, paid for it myself or whatever. Now, at this point in my life, I'm 79. To have somebody serve me meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and peas and dessert that I didn't have to make, and the volunteers come graciously. Here's my other point. When you look at your numbers that you just put up, you have millions. You have $450,000 for another expenditure. You're talking about $15,000? What are you talking about here? This senior center has changed not just my life, but when you look at seniors who are challenged in walkers, with canes, in wheelchairs, coming every single day on the bus, excited to be here, you can't do this to us.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question. I've been really confused. I really get about wanting to have a budget and the increased cost and all that. What I don't get, and no, don't get me wrong, I'm not against a cricket field, but when you are in the situation that you paint that is so dire, how come you're putting funds into a cricket field when those funds could be used to at least do level funding for the services that are being provided? I just don't get that. The other thing is, I saw on that budget you had miscellaneous costs, and I'd like to know what exactly are those miscellaneous costs. I want to see a breakout of that. Okay, thank you.
Your name and address.
Excuse me, ma'am, can you just come back and, miss, can you come back and state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, I see where. My name is Meryl Tom, and I live on Cold Spring Road.
Okay, thank you so much. So after him, why don't you come up, okay? Okay.
My name is Chuck Robinson. I live on Pratt Street. Unlike the youngsters who spoke ahead of me, see, I'm 84, so I can't brag about reaching those other numbers, but 84. The thing I'm really speaking for is about the lunches for the seniors. Although I am lucky, I don't come every day because my wife cooks wonderfully. Because she's quite a dish, as you can see. But anyway, but the reality is, I know that I have a place here to go. And when they talk about bringing in CRT and those kinds of things, I'm sorry. What we've been getting downstairs is wonderful. It's like home cooking. And that's a wonderful thing, and it would be a terrible loss to lose that. So with all respect, I'm a retired school teacher. I know about education, budgets, and all that. But we have a treasure here in Rocky Hill, which is above that of many surrounding towns. And I'd hate to see us lose it, because not just a meal, but fellowship, companionship, company. That's the wonderful thing. And that's what I see here, and I'd hate to lose that. In a box lunch, with all due respect, they can keep the box, but we like what we get from Mitchell's.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, we have a woman in the front who's gonna, 1 second, we're gonna have her come up, yeah. Take your time, and then don't forget your name and your address.
Yes, I'm Kate Jarvie, 202 Lunar Circle. Again, I want to speak to the senior meals. I don't think that the board realizes the impact that that has on this community. It is the senior community in this town. And you're prioritizing, a cricket field over your seniors? How many people are going to use that cricket field? The senior center, you built a beautiful facility. And if you change those meals and try to feed us frozen, heated up box meals, you're going to have wasted millions of dollars because you will doom this center. My husband and I started coming here before you built the new center, and we had the Mitchell's meals. He died last year. If it weren't for these meals and this group, I probably wouldn't even be here now. It is vitally important that you keep this for us. It's what is going to keep this community, that senior center going, because people aren't going to come out of their house just to play bingo. They're not going to come out of their house just to do an arts and crafts project. They're going to sit there and they're going to watch TV and they're going to deteriorate. I was here at the anniversary party you had a year ago, and I spoke to many managers of other senior centers in Connecticut, including Darien, and she was amazed and she was jealous of this center. We should keep that up. It is something to be proud of. Let's not waste it. I mean, you talk about saving money, moving tables. I mean, does that mean that 2 days a week we don't get to eat because you're not going to move the tables? I don't see where you save money there. And you built a beautiful facility. You built a kitchen. It's going to go to waste if nobody's cooking in it. Why'd you spend the money to build a kitchen if you don't want anybody cooking in it? Because you can't have a bridal shower or a get-together because you have to be safe certified to use that kitchen. So you spent all that money, now you're going to waste it, and you are going to damage the seniors of this community beyond repair. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Romolo Santilli, and I've been in this town for many years.
Address.
And,
Mr. Santilli, what's your address?
49 Shea Circle,
Thank
Rocky
you.
Hill. And I see some good people in the senior center. I've been involved a little bit, and I bring joy. And these people, come on, they deserve it. I mean, some of these people, they've been around for many years. We need them like they need us. So let's show them some respect. They deserve it. Everybody. Good evening.
Thank you, thank you. You really could just come up. You don't have to raise your hand. Remember your name and your address.
Well, I didn't have a speech prepared, but I'm Cheryl Rinaldi. My husband there is Nick, and we've been here since 1976. And we live at 211 West Meadow Road. We bought the house brand new, and we paid our taxes all this years, and our children went to school here. And what I want to say is, if you change the meals, it's going to ruin our life. Because my husband just sits in front of that TV. This has changed our whole life. And as you know, seniors have health issues. And this gets him out of the house and moving around and talking to people. And if you take away the food program as it is going to change our life. And it's not going to be good. So I'm begging you to please keep the food as is. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Helen Perry, and I live on Brimfield Way. As far as the lunch that is proposed for us, I don't know what it's called, CRP or whatever. My mother used to get that when she was homebound years ago. She looked at it, she tasted it, and she threw it in the garbage and discontinued the whole thing. She said they served that to homeless people. That's how bad it was. I also want to know how this meeting was advertised. Who advertised this meeting? Where? Many of us didn't know where it was.
I just want to clarify, we are not allowed to communicate with anybody. So when you hear that we're being silent, it's not that we don't want to communicate with you, and I'm not communicating with you, so that we don't want to communicate, but it's against the rules. But thank you.
Okay, I'm Irene Kerber. I live at 22 Maxwell Drive. And my husband died 5 years ago. And since then, my health has deteriorated so that I can stand maybe about 5 minutes. So I have good intentions of walking into my kitchen, making dinner, but then I get there and I just can't. So this has been a lifesaver for me. Going to a senior center and getting a really good meal, something that I liked, because my husband and I used to go to Mitchell's. So, and some of the meals are the same thing. I mean, my favorite is the pot roast dinner. I really like that. But, I don't think I'm going to eat out of a box. I just don't think that's going to be. So I really would like to see you maintain it. I see a lot of other folks there who have walkers and canes, and so I'm sure that they're having trouble cooking or doing something like that. So this is quite an impact that this budget is suggesting, to do away with something that I don't think you should. I mean, that's morally wrong, I think. I really do. I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of, this is food, good food, and maintaining our health and happiness. Really, we have a good time there. So I would like this to just stay the way it is, not really deteriorate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You could wait up there.
Barbara Robinson, 54 Pratt Street. I just want to reiterate what everybody else is saying here about the lunch program. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it is community. It brings people together, not just for the lunch, but also for activities. We've had wonderful activities here, singing and dancing and being alive. And so we are retired, yes. And we've all served in different areas, occupations. And now it is just wonderful to be able to gather with one another and enjoy a wonderful meal. So please, keep the meals the way they are and continue to just come and visit with us and see the love and the friendship and the wonderful times that we are continuing to have. We have had 125 people for lunch and many of these special events. And that tells you something. And they're not just from Rocky Hill. They're coming from other towns where their lunches are not very good. So that tells you something as well. And there are, I think, over 2,000 members now in our senior center. So that tells you something. We are bringing people in, and we'd love to keep doing that. So please consider not changing the lunch program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, wait. We have someone in the front who's been. You want to come up with the vest? 1 second. Remember your name and your address.
Gail Puro. I live in Alexandra Lane in Rocky Hill. I volunteer at the senior center, and everything these people are saying, you've been there, you've seen it. Other people should come. It's a godsend for them. If it's losing money, up it $1 again if you have to. $6 they could pay, but to do away with it it's not a very good thing. So I hope you consider what they all said.
Thank you. You're next, Tony. You're next. Go ahead. Yeah.
Linda Saraceno, 29 Brimfield Way, Rocky Hill. One thing I noticed is that all of you are not our age. You have no... Yeah.
Actually, I am.
You just have no idea on your last phase of life what it's going to be like. Maybe you have husbands, wives. A lot of us are widows and widowers. I did not know any of these people until I joined the senior center. I am also a widow. And it's like a family, absolute family. I also volunteer at the cafe, and people that are unhappy because they're alone smile as soon as they walk through the door. The meals are like eating with family, and they talk with each other, and they just feel like they're so filled with hope compared to their lives at home, because that meal may be the only time they are going to talk with anybody the whole day until they can come back again. Mitchell's, wonderful. We love Mitchell's. I mean, we go to Mitchell's even if we don't go to the senior center. But yeah, the cricket field, I don't get that. I mean, again, you got to be in your last phase of life to understand how important these good meals are. The nutrients they provide. I mean, I bet you if you look at a lot of our refrigerators, we don't have all those nutrients that we should have at our age. But we go, and Mitchell's provides the freshest vegetables, the biggest potatoes, and you've been there and seen that. The biggest potatoes you can make a meal out of yourself. Meat and fish and everything that seniors need that they just forget about when they're home, especially when they're alone. And the camaraderie is just amazing, amazing. I mean, I've made some good friends. Everybody in here has made good friends. That is so important when you live alone and when you're in your 70s. I mean, a lot of us are thinking, what's next? What's coming next for us? Nursing home, where are we going to go? This part right now that we're living is so dependent on the senior center, the camaraderie, the meals, getting together at that mealtime, that family that may not be at home for anybody else. It is so important if you can continue to keep the meals going so that we can all feel that we still have something to live for. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Tony Palazzolo, George Road. And if I run too long, my husband will get up and finish it, and I wish you patience. I'll try to be fast. While searching for yesterday's council meeting on 4/3/23, I was pleased to see that it was titled the 2023 National Public Health Week. You see, at the mayor's luncheon at the Senior Center, I mentioned that Hartford Hospital had featured the blue zones, or the places in the world with the most octogenarians. There are commonalities in these areas that have been studied. As I heard about it, I got excited, as Rocky Hill has several things going for it on it that are in these characteristics. The one thing we don't have is a population of 100,000. Therefore, we cannot become a designated. I was all excited and thought we could try to become a designated blue zone in Connecticut. There is one in Minnesota, Leah Albert. There's someplace in Florida. I don't know if it's Naples. And, of course, Loma Linda because of the Seventh-day Adventist in California. Meals are more than just a sustenance. Research has shown that eating alone can be alienating. There is a whole psychology discussing the value of sharing a meal with others. It may be helping others with suggestions, demonstration of care, exchanging ideas, as well as providing for mental alertness. With people living longer, some forms of dementia are showing up. Thus, family-style meals are important beyond the food. I ask you, do you like to go out to eat? Do you go to a nice place? Another benefit of shared meals is sharing cultures. You have your inclusion innovations going in town. We've got things going here, and you don't want to destroy them. You've got your Parks and Rec working like a clock. You've got the Senior Center working like a well-oiled machine. You need to look at what you're doing. It's easy to look at paper and just cut. Not really, but I mean, yes. Another benefit of shared meals is sharing cultures. We are fortunate to have 13 different languages spoken in Rocky Hill. As a person living here, I want to get to know my people. Well, I don't want to be a ring on the suburb of Hartford, and that's what we're designated and headed for. The Senior Community Center is a perfect vehicle. Food crosses cultures and provides a foundation to begin. Now, getting to the point that seems to be the main function tonight is money. I have a copy of the Senior Services proposal. Under supplies, I see your proposal is to adjust the food account from $75,000 down to $20,000, or is it $15,000 now from what I saw in there? I don't know. For 2024, which is a reduction of minus 73.3%. On the cover page of the proposal of the snapshot, it says phase in community renewal team lunch while keeping weekly specials or events. Have you calculated that 20,000 you left in there, which I presume is for the special events? How many events you're going to get out of that at 100 or 125 people? Are you cutting the frequency of those? I don't have the figures. You do. This is a proposal that cuts to the heart of our center. Analyzing on paper as a plus or minus is easy. Will the CRT fill out our cultural choices? We are a very culturally driven community. And if you're in Hartford, you're going to be eating rice and beans. And I like it. And I mean, there's lots of certain things, but they are basics. That's how they stretch their culture. Will the CRT fill our cultural choices? For many of our people who come to the center, they are widows, widowers, and singles. This is their main meal for the day. It is a day with activities or exercise or classes of various choices. This is our schoolhouse, and we are now old, and this age of the population is growing bigger, not smaller. Your baby boomers don't have money saved, and there's a big swath of them coming through. You need to realize this. You are richer the first year you retire. Oh, I missed something here. You need to know that isolation such as COVID affected adults as well as the kids. And I think we all felt that even if you're starting to go back to work. But I know the people who were sitting home were tired of it. You are richer for the first year you retire than the years following. The value of your package diminishes. Yes, cost of livings are sometimes given, but Mother Medicare needs money for insurance. The value slowly decreases. For those who retired in 1990, it is now 33 years later. That floored me, because 1990 is a new year to me. When I heard kids saying they were born in 1990, I looked at them and thought, oh, I'm getting old. As we age, it is not uncommon for people to end up with more prescriptions, and you have to know the costs are out of this world. The insurance deductibles are also high. Seniors have a wealth of knowledge that is being eroded as our society changes. Every culture comes with a set of talents. We need exchanges. If we knew what some of those cultures knew, and we can mix it together, that's our key to survival, folks. I watched my mother-in-law feed 5 and 6 adults with a head of broccoli. I now understand how she did it. That was her survival. I've seen the Turkish people. I went to a cooking class there, and I looked at the girl because they come around with 2 pots, one with water and one with tea. They give you a third of a cup of tea, the rest is water. I said, oh, this is how you stretch your tea. She looked at me and she said, yes. And I know that the Puerto Ricans with their rice, they're good at stretching things. Oh, anyway, I gotta move on, or I'll have my husband up here reading. The embarrassment of going to a food pantry is an adjustment for a person who has spent their life working. Removal of the bread donation over to the Kennedy House took away a central area from our community. Not all of our working population is meeting both ends with food inflation. I'm talking about your people in the middle. They're finding it hard. You know, there's 2 of us at home. We can eat less, that's all. But when you've got a family to feed, you got to stretch it. Furthermore, this food is kept in a central area for the purpose of sanitation when it was down here. Any good food service program has to have a sanitation program. And if you don't, you're headed for trouble. Some people do know where the food pantry is. Others can't physically get there, and others will not go there. I've heard people tell me this. Do you know your population? It sounds logical to take it to the human services, but it's more logical to have it here for the senior community. Returning to senior lunches, History 101. We had an in-house cook, Ted. He was retired or did retire. Next, we had a caterer. At one point, the subject of satellite meals was broached. The seniors were unified in their response, no. Mitchell's came to the rescue. And that's what you're proposing now is the satellite, the CRT. If you understand the foundation that these lunches provide, you will understand that this is our football field, the senior football field. This is our school, and that lunch table is our football field. That's where we play. That's where we interact. I am suspecting that each child in school costs between $14,000 and $16,000 per year. Folks, we are talking about $75,000 for a population that has paid taxes to this town for many years. I met someone today who attended the New Mosher School in 1950s. If you divide the number 75,000 by 2,000 members, it is $37.50 per person. Or you can challenge me and say, well, we're sending 100 lunches. Well, 100 lunches comes to $7.50 per person per year. I was told that Rocky Hill is the only town with good meals. Our main activity is to stay social and relevant, and that's in this part of our life. Another way of looking at this is, do you have 12 seniors who pay $6,000 per year in taxes to our town? That provides $72,000 of your 75 that you want to cut. And that's probably a small ranch house. We need to be given our share of the budget for our needs, and our needs are different from the rest of the community. Money staying in the community enhances a sense of belonging for those using the service, and I'm talking about supplying local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Vasquez, 139 Bailey Road. I'm a volunteer on Monday. I go to Big Y, pick up their day-o stuff. I was having my taxes done sitting there at a table, and I'm watching these people come in with shopping bags, taking the bread, the rolls, and walking out, leaving a donation that should be returned to the senior center. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? No, you can't do that. No.
Well, I'm glad that I waited for a little bit because I had to compose myself after some of these folks' stories. But so in a nutshell, we have like a $2.7 million gap that we're proposing. That's a 3% increase over the current budget that we're proposing comes from a 1.4 mil increase in the mill rate. From what I see, there's not a lot of like added expenditures in there, and it feels like we're not even like trimming the fat off of this current budget. We're actually, it seems like we're cutting some bone too. But one of the other things that I just wanted to point out that we're cutting from here is something that seems like we might have an issue with, which is we're no longer going to have the position of economic development major, which I'm all for like cutting overhead and general, expenses for the town. But we haven't had a grand list growth since the last time we did a reevaluation. So don't we need more economic development to be able to grow that grand list so that we don't have to increase the mill rate and have every individual taxpayer pick up that burden? But my question associated with that also is what happens when all of our properties are reassessed in October? This is the 5-year mark where we're all going to be reassessed. We were reassessed in 2018. I don't know about you, but like show of hands, how many people's taxes went up after that? How many people's, houses went up in value? And I'm a real estate agent, so I happen to know the data behind this. Single-family homes in Rocky Hill from October of 2018 to now have gone up 41% in their sale value. So what happens in October when we reevaluate everybody's property, and then in January they have an increased bill that has the mill rate as well as the assessment rate? Because, just about everybody in here's taxes went up because of the assessment alone. And that was actually the last time that our grand list grew, and it grew 4.5% back in 2019. And just about everybody in here, their properties, I'm sure, went up in value. But one thing that's beside the point, but I also just maybe this doesn't affect the town council as much, because I actually dug into, because before I said, how many people did that, I wanted to look in and see if the town council's properties value went up in the last assessment, and actually it didn't. 6 out of the 9 people that are currently on the town council, their taxes did not go up in the last assessment. It's public data. Look it up. Some of the people were not on the council now, were not in that council then, but the mill rate that year stayed flat in 2019. So if your assessment went down and the mill rate was flat, your taxes actually went down. Just food for thought for everybody. So lastly, related to that is it possible for us to say all of our values are going to go up, even if it's not 41%, maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 10%, whatever. Is it possible for us to, on the books, maintain not a balanced budget, knowing that when all these bills come due in January for taxes, we're all going to be paying more anyway, and not add the mill rate increase as well as the reassessment? Because in running the numbers on that like $200,000 house that doesn't exist, which, by the way, there are no $200,000 houses. But if you run those taxes, I believe it was $4,800 or something like that was the annual tax bill. If you factor in the mill rate increase plus the value goes up like 20%, that's $1,000 a year more in property taxes. And that's 20%. That's not even 40%. So that's, if it's $1,000 a year, that's $500 in January and another $500 in July, which isn't going to be factored in for the next go around with a budget. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if it's Connecticut law that you have to make a balanced budget up front, but maybe we keep that in mind, that all of the grand list is going up anyway. Thanks.
You need to say your name and your address.
Sorry. You know what? I even wrote down, it's 112 Old Main Street.
What is your name?
Alan Smith.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith.
I usually don't come over here, so.
Okay, if you're going to come back,
Okay, excuse me, Romulo, I have to
you gotta do it all over again.
Tilly and 49 Shea Circle.
Okay.
I've been listening to everybody. This young man scared me. Mamma mia. All those numbers. But anyway, what I'm saying is he's in charge. If I was a boss of someplace and these people came to me, I'll find money somewhere to make everybody in better, happier. Because, I just say, we could find it. We're talking about millions of dollars over here. Mamma mia. So let's all share the good things. Excuse me.
All right, I don't see anyone else standing up. Okay, come on up. Remember your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Pinto, and I live at 8 Fallowwater Court in Rocky Hill, and I have the privilege of working the coffee bar at the Senior Center on Mondays. And I've met some wonderful, wonderful people. And those wonderful people really need a good meal, not a box lunch, because they can't afford the food that they used to be able to do, because with Medicare and everything else that we get, it doesn't cover it. And they need the food. They need a good food, not a box lunch they're going to throw out. My mother used to get Meals on Wheels and throw them out. And that's what's going to happen. And without the seniors coming for their meals and gathering, they're just going to sit and not be responsive anymore. So you need to keep Mitchell's. And another thing that really irked me is that the seniors really need the extras that came in with the bread on Mondays. And then they discontinue that. I don't know why. But they really needed it, and they brought it home, and it wasn't a waste. So I don't understand why they can't have that donation back to the Senior Center.
Thank you so much. Are you coming back? Yes. Okay. You gotta do your name and your address again, okay?
Kate Jarvie, 202 Linder Circle. I would just like to ask your selectmen to take this into consideration. Is having a cricket field a matter of life and death? I don't think so. Is having those meals at the senior center a matter of life and death? It is. For many of us, including myself, it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we will wrap up unless anyone else wants to come up to the microphone, because you're more than welcome to. We don't have any place to go. Yeah, sadly. Anyone else? No? No? Okay, so with that,
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate it.